Colour community. We'll take that off. I'm gonna try and find my
I think you just saw a Pacific Gold.
How do you tell this one? Oh, I'd love to see that. Written. Love to see that.
When's the best time to see dolphins? Morning or afternoon?
Generally morning, more so. Yeah, I haven't really found a real rhyme or reason to them. They do tend to follow the high tide up the river. When we have like the fresh and the saltwater mixing, you often see them on the tide line. So as the tide comes in, they sort of come up the river with the tide line. Probably 8 or 9 times out of 10 we'll see them down by the river mouth. That's generally where they'll be. So, they do go up as far as Alexandra Bridge, so they'll go 16 mile upstream sometimes. So. And yeah, they can be in West Bay, they can be up in North Bay, lots of places. Oh, we've got another boat coming here. It's one of the Blackwood River houseboats. Okay, this is one of the Blackwood River houseboats coming in. That's their little jetty they leave from. James. And yeah, that's a floating apartment, the other one there. They're trying to leave that one there so people just book it and stay on board there. They don't actually travel, but this one's been travelling, so they've been up the river for a couple of days, 2 or 3 days probably, and just bringing it back, probably beat the weather back. Okay, we're going to go over to East Augusta. They don't really call that West Augusta where we came from. That's generally known as Augusta. The other side of the river is East Augusta. Down further south is known as Flinders Bay. There's about 40 odd homes over here nowadays, and they're generally on at least a 1 acre or 4,000 square metre block. So we've got a bit of bird life here too. What have we got getting around? I think they're all ospreys, are they? Yeah. So we've got the ospreys circling around at the moment, obviously trying to get out of the wind. Yeah, so there's a bit of osprey action there. Yeah, just great. Big one here, autos, they might be better. Yeah, sure, they're not good. Otherwise, there's plenty more pairs around. Yeah, so we've got the ospreys getting around. Look at them. Just up over here. So feel free to move around and open your windows. Yeah, it's a little bit oh, hang on, I'm getting blown in there. It's a little bit unusual to see them out and about like that. I don't know whether they're fishing or they're just sort of moving base before the weather turns too bad. Looks like another couple of them down here, so they're on the move, the ospreys. We're keeping a little bit of an eye on them. So yeah, this is known as East Augusta here. About 40 odd homes, like I said, big blocks, like the semi-rural blocks. Probably half holiday homes and half permanent residents. And generally once the kids get a little bit older, they'll get their own little boat or dinghy to come to and from town. First home built here was built in the late 1800s. It was a limestone block home, and it was behind these pine trees here. Here we go, the osprey coming in again. I'll talk about the ospreys a little bit later on. They're also known as a fish eagle or a fish hawk, and they will swoop down and grab fish with their feet or their talons. There's a couple of them over there, and they generally do work over the water. Like I said, behind those pine trees used to be a limestone block home built by the Alice family in the late 1800s. A few years later they built the Augusta Hotel, but they built that on the other side of the river up on the hill where it is at present. The two sisters that originally ran the hotel lived over in East Augusta by themselves, and they never ever married. They used to get up every morning and row across the river and open up the hotel, and in the evening, with a little tilly lamp on their boat, they'd row back home again. They did that for quite a number of years before they eventually sold the hotel, and old Bessie moved to town. Old Gussie stayed on over there by herself for quite a while as the only resident of East Augusta. She got a little bit soft in the end. She did get an outboard motor, but she was about 90 I reckon when she left over there, and no one wanted to live in East Augusta for a number of years. The old home over there was abandoned. It was just too hard for everyone to get across the river. Until the hippies came to town and they didn't mind living on the other side of the river in the old house there and going to and fro by boat. So a lot of stories were getting around on what was going on the other side of the river. I was about 14, me and my mate swam across the river to have a look and see what was going on. And yeah, we found it a little bit disappointing. Everyone had their clothes on, there wasn't that much to see. A lot of the stories getting around town anyway. They moved on, and then about 1980 we started getting a little bit of building over there. Always been talk of a bridge over the river. I can remember that as a kid. Buy a block in East Augusta, and when they build the bridge they'll be worth a small fortune. They're not going to build a bridge for a few homes over there and then drive back out onto Brockman Highway to get to Windy Harbour or Walpole or somewhere. And I reckon most of the people living over there don't want a bridge. They're quite happy with it the way it is. There was even a little bit of a push to get a car barge by a few people, and yeah, they weren't at all interested in that. Okay, we're on the Blackwood River. It is the largest continually flowing river here in WA. It is over 600 kilometres long and actually starts up on the south side of Lake Doubleyoung. It's got a huge catchment area in the wheat belt, but they won't actually call it the Blackwood River into where the Arthur and Bagerup rivers join. That's a little bit over 300 kilometres away. It then flows down through Boyup Brook, Bridgetown and Nana. And the reason it's continually flowing and doesn't block off over the summer months like most other rivers in WA will do, is it actually gets a feed from the Yarragadee aquifer that comes out of the ground around Darradup, just south of Nana. Keeps the flow in the lower reaches of the river and keeps the river mouth open all year round. Okay, we've got a little bit of bird life on the inside island. This is Lion Island here. They told me that it's called Lion Island because it looks like a lion. I think they're lying about that, but maybe you've got a better imagination than me. But it looks like we've got the cormorants in here. They look a little bit like penguins, and a little bit like penguins. They do actually swim under the water and chase fish. Unlike a penguin, they can actually fly, but you will often see them hanging around like a shag on a rock, drying their wings out, a shag being the more common name for the cormorants. And yeah, we do get pied, little pied black and little black. So these are mainly pied cormorants. Pied are marine birds, and the small ones are freshwater birds. You find them further inland. We've also got a heap of spoonbills on here. And these are an unusual looking bird. They look like Daffy Duck after being run over in the cartoon or something. Something steamrolled his beak out flat. They've got this big elongated duck-like beak, and they get in the shallows with that, and they'll dig around in the weed and the mud.
How deep is it around here?
Where we are here, not very deep. Just off the edge here though, it is a little deep channel. It's about 6 metres there. But yeah, we are in close to the rocks here. I can't go in much further. Yeah, feel free to slide your window open as well if you want to get better vision. And we're going to go over that side and spin the boat around as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so they're very, very unusual, the old spoonies. They're a funny looking bird. Gonna end up on the other side here. Like I said, I've got a few rocks in here close, so I'm going to run aground at this stage of the game. And yeah, a lot of the pied cormorants there, they're the large ones. You can tell them, apart from their size, they're always a lot bigger than the little pied cormorants. There's a spoonie coming in. Yeah, you can tell the difference between the pied and the little pied, because obviously the size, but the pied actually have a pair of black pants and a little bit of yellow around the eyes. So sometimes you'll get a young pied cormorant, you may think it's a little pied. And yeah, good numbers of spoonies. Yeah, come past here the other day, there was just one lone spoonie, like he didn't get the memo and all the others took off on him or something. Anyway, good numbers of spoonies in the river. Okay,
I used to
yeah.
live in one of these places.
The fresh water in the Blackwood River tends to look like a cup of black tea, and it gets that orangey black colour about it from the melaleucas that grow along the banks. They'll actually drop leaves and bark in the water, and that releases a tannin and stains the water this orangey black colour. And don't be afraid about going into the tanniny water. You may think it looks a little bit dirty or whatever. That melaleuca tannin is actually very good for your skin. It will help clean up cuts and sores and things like that. It's got mild antibiotic sort of properties about it. And yeah, back in the old days they'd make a billy tea out of it, no worries. And apart from not knowing whether they'd already put their tea leaves in or not, no one ever got crook from it. So it is quite okay, the fresh water that you find in the upper reaches of the river. As the fresh water tends to flow over the top of the salt water, it can look fresh up further upstream, but it may be salty underneath because the river is still tidal, 42 kilometres upstream, just past Warner Glen. They're still getting just a little bit of daily tidal movement, and that is about as far as the river is readily navigable as well. And the indigenous name for this area is Tallanapp, and that meant River of Breeze. The eastern side of the river were Pibbleman tribes, and the western side was the Wadandi, or the saltwater people. The Wadandi people ranged from Augusta up to about Bunbury and were referred to as saltwater people as they spent a lot of time fishing and fossicking on the coast. But they also came down here into the river where they speared fish, turtles, frogs, black swans, ducks, and dug up cockles in the river here as well, and built very basic fish traps out of a semicircle of stones, and the fish would go in there on the high tide and get stuck in there on the low tide. And they communicated with the other Wadandi tribes further up the coast by message stick. So if a whale washed up on the beach around here, they would send a message stick up the coast, and they would get passed on all the way and let everyone know there was whale in Augusta. Come on down if you wanted to feed. And yeah, the first English settlers came here in 1830. The bulk of them left for easier farming in Bustleton after a few years, but the few that stayed on were bartering with the whalers that were coming into Flinders Bay. And by all accounts they had fairly good relations with the local Wadandi tribe. They were quite a friendly and decent people. Not so much the Pibbleman tribe over there in East Augusta, where there was a small skirmish and it did get a little bit heated at one stage. In the late 1800s, the whalers coming into Flinders Bay mixing with the local Wadandi tribe, European diseases they had no tolerance to, and the tribe number began dropping off dramatically. The tribe around the King Coast died, and they had a ceremony in their camp on the edge of town for 2 days, stop day and night. And everything in the camp went quiet. And one of the Alcestics, who eventually ended up running the hotel but was a bit younger at the time, walked down to the campsite and tried to find out what was going on. Found a body in his burger, nothing there. Accidentally walked over some brush on the ground, fell in a hole, and landed on top of the tribal elder. He'd been buried there, and they came up to camp and first and they never came back and had a permanent there. Any length of time after that. He's the only licensed professional fisherman on the river. This is his main fishing area, and he does process all his fish. He sorts it all up, and it's all sold here in Augusta, so you won't find it on the menu anywhere else. Maybe on the menu at idea of the black swan. Just come along, neck down, graze all this browny weed, commonly known as swan grass that's growing on the banks here. And they're a little bit away, far away today. high tide that pushed out a bit. In springtime we have huge numbers of them here in the river. They counted about 1,000 of them a couple of years ago, but they will all be up in North Bay, that shallow area up to the left there. They have a molting period over the summer, and while they're molting they can't fly. They finish their molting period and they do start spreading out of the river. And according to the manual of the Book of Birds, they all go inland over the summer months, winter months, to lakes and dams further inland to breed, and they won't breed in flowing water. These swans haven't read the manual. We had quite a number of cygnets on the river last year. They have all grown up a bit, the younger birds, and not very distinct earlier on, a grey colour and a little bit smaller. They've sort of got the full size, they've gone quite dark now, the black swans. Yeah. Maybe some further down somewhere. Yeah, so they seem to stay on the river most of the year, the black swans. They're actually black and white swans when they start flying. You can see they do have white wingtips on them. They were hunted in the early days by the Wadandi people and the early settlers and the whalers. They reckon without black swan and kangaroo they probably would have starved to death down here. And when they opened the Augusta Hotel in 1912, it was actually a counter lunch. You could go to the pub and have swan and veggies or swan and chips. I don't know whether they did a swan palmy in 1912, but yeah, wash it down with a swan draft probably. Not very good by all accounts. I've never met an old bloke that's ever lamented the loss of swan off the menu. Yeah, and they have been protected all my lifetime. Never eaten a black swan, never been hungry enough for that. Yeah, so this is on a very low tide where the black swans are now. That will all be exposed. That happens on both sides of the river. In springtime we have low tides here in the middle of the day, and we have a lower water level in springtime. Although the river's flowing quite strongly, we have a weaker water level around here generally, a little lower, something like over there. The black swan, you see that white wingtips? Black, there are the black swans flying along over there. And they're not very good flyers, the black swans. They're nothing like the pelicans, which will just glide along. These guys, if they stop flapping their wings, they'll just drop out of the sky. They'll be a big flying bagpipe. You just see them coming behind the island there. So very distinct when they are flying, the black swans. Oh, here's a Pacific gull having a snooze here, like a big seagull. You've got a dark wing and a yellowy beak. They're a scavenger like a seagull. The unusual thing about a Pacific gull is they're actually the same colour. Their wing, 3 years of age, and then they stick their adult plumage. Oh yeah, it's quite another ballet of black swans over there, or gullet in Australia, probably pronounce that. Landing with their butts over there. pelicans in the river. They don't breed here, they breed further north on offshore islands, but also down around Adelaide. See a few of the little pied cormorants down the end here. I think we've seen the pied earlier on, so there's the little pied. And we should see a few little black cormorants in here as well. We're going along a property known as Southern Shores. It's a large farm. It starts around the corner in the Hardy Inlet and then runs for about 3 kilometres along the edge of the river here. Goes all the way to Flinders Bay. It's got about 2 kilometres of ocean frontage as well. It was owned in the 1980s by Miss Ford, famous for pastry shops in Perth. And she cleared part of the property and fenced it, and then got this jetty in front of us built. Some locals refer to it as Maud's Landing in here. She had plans for a homestead, chalets and a caravan park on the property, but before that happened, the stock market went down in 1986 and she sold the property off and was bought by an American investor, and she never went ahead and developed it any further. There's still a big sand turn in from this jetty with a builder's pole on where you can build a homestead there, and it just hasn't gone any further. And yeah, eventually the jetty fell into disrepair and they had to pull all the planks off it. It's the little tide again. We've got some of the large black cormorants up here as well. Only unusual ones we've got here. You're going to get a lot of little black cormorants, but not so many of the large black. Oh yeah, they're generally pretty shy. Large black one. Yeah. Big bird up there as well. Oh, there's an osprey up in the sky there. Oh, that's a musk duck on the inside there. See his head that's popped up on the inside here? That's a musk. Oh, there's a dog. Yeah. It's got a lone range. We've got a couple of them. And they are busy fishing, so they're not really going to come and play with us. But have a bit of a look at it. We've got the eagles here, the ospreys. They look like they're going to start work. Keep an eye on the birds, they make the dive bomb down. Try and catch a fish. Actually, that's not an osprey. What is that? Tide? Why are you there? Shark for an osprey. Got two of them there. Maybe it's not carriers. A couple of them. Two unusual birds there. Got the dolphins here, so we're looking around. Okay, these guys are busy fishing. They'll probably only come up every now. Wedgies, are they?
Yes.
Wedgies. Aha! Two wedge tail eagles. You don't really see on the river very much. Now they don't really seem to have that V-shaped flight pattern that a wedgie has. Well, it's with their tail feathers. Got a wedgie tail on. Oh yeah, they've got a very wedgy tail. I've got a couple of wedgies hanging around. Also, dolphins somewhere.
Right on the back.
At the back, are they? Okay. Turn around. Yeah, okay, the dolphins are busy. And that's the osprey, that one over there. Anyway. I haven't really seen the wedgies on the river very much like that. That's very unusual. They generally fish or hunt over the land. I don't know where that bus is. Trying to catch the fish. Like I said, they're not going to be. Some days you'll get them and they'll just be playing. You roll around the surface, some are trying to play low. We had two baby dolphins born in the river last year. We had at least 3 dolphins there, and they do look quite young as well. Sometimes the whole pod's together and they're very tight. Other days you see them, they'll be all spread out on the river here, kind of all over the place. Here we go, we've got a little fella coming over towards the boat. Yeah, there he is. That's one of our babies. That's a 2-year-old dolphin, born in the river last year. And yeah, you can see they've come back again.
Just over there.
The wedgies hanging around. Wedgies have got that sort of V-shaped pattern when they're sort of fairly straight. very easy to be up that custom V-shaped formation, a lot larger birds. They have actually got a nest up on the phone tower here on Malloy Island. Maybe a little bit later on you may be able to see the nest up there. They've been nesting up there for about the last 6 or 7 years, and I was a little bit, oh, well, how's that going to affect them? We're going to end up with mutant ospreys in a few years' time or whatever. So apparently it's ideal for them. They just go and grab their fish and take it up there and microwave it. They feed their little kids. Okay, we're just coming up to where the power line goes down under the river and onto Malloy Island. It's also where the barge crosses. So they've got a big electric winch over on the Malloy Island side that spins a turntable and pulls the cable back and forward so the barge can cross the river. They've got a control box on either side of the river and also one on the barge, and it all come across unmanned. So even if you're here by yourself at 4 o'clock in the morning, you've got a key, you can call the barge over to come across. It does only run if they've got a full load of cars, otherwise they have to wait for the half hour. You've got no one coming on, no one going off in another 5 minutes. They'll run the barge, just got to have to wait unless you get the full load on the barge there. The homeowners are paying about $1,500 a year to be part of the Malloy Island Homeowners Association, and that's letting them use the barge as much as they want to. But if you're visiting someone on the island, you're going to pay $5 to go on the barge. They're not going to let you on there unless you know someone on the island and you've got some business to do on the island. And so they've stopped doing Airbnbs and short-term holiday rentals here on the island. And we're going into the control box just yet. Look, I just waited. Okay, look, he's not due to take the barge.
So you just can't go and have a walk around the island?
No, they don't. Well, you could have a walk around the island probably, but yeah, unless you know someone or you've got some business to do on the island, they generally control access on or off the barge. Obviously, they don't want during the busy time. The island is not to be able to get on because of people walking around. Obviously, you can tell a real estate agent you want to buy a property there, and they'll drive you around the island, or you look up the phone book and make out you know someone on the island, it's not heavily policed. You drop a name, they'll put you on there, as long as the old mate's not on the barge. You know, they can't remember you from your old school days or whatever. A lot of people have been here for 30, 40 years, they absolutely love it. I know other people that do refer to it as Alcatraz, so everyone's cup of tea. Anyway, by the time we go up a little bit further, I should be about ready to run the barge. It's not very busy at the moment. I'm staying on the island. We've got the main swimming beach coming up on the right hand side. They've tucked in a little bit of white sand to make it look nice and beachy. Put in a picnic area, volleyball court, got a big pontoon to jump off. Put in a big net there to keep the sharks out, but we think the crocodiles ate them, so it'll probably be quite safe here. No, I am joking. It's a row of floats, looks like a boat going in there. No one's ever been attacked by a shark in the Blackwood River. You do not really hear of bull shark attacks on the south coast of Australia, so we think it's very, very safe up there. Got an egret in here, which is this white bird with a big, long, skinny neck and a pointy beak. Oh, he's not going to hang around and get his photo taken, or a bit shy today, the old egret. But they're a stealth wader. They generally sneak along through the shallows. And yeah, you just see them, they don't really move too quick. They wait for something to come past and they'll sort of hang still and then uncoil that long skinny neck and stab it with their pointy beak. Yeah, that's the eagle way over that side there. Yeah, got that very lazy flying style. Flop along there. Very light bird. And we are just about at the end of our island, so we're just coming up to the right hand side of the northern arm of the Scott River, where most of the water flows down. It's very shallow on the southern side. Narrow. And crossing that to Scotland and then marking the way around the back of my island, and going back to Southern property earlier on. And over on mainland Australia, there's a little caravan park. It's very about another 3 kilometres up to the ski area here. Also, just in love it in the park, people just like that on the river. You can come down here and have a picnic and hire the canoes and buy a bag of food for the ducks and the kangaroos here. If you stay in the park, though, don't leave the kangaroos are cool people out here to drink the stuff, so very upfront, very friendly with the kangaroos. And apparently we do have a garden and barbecue and fire, otherwise the kookaburra will take it down and turn it back on straight into the hot plate like the dog. So apart from the kangaroos eating the steak, the kookaburra is taking that food off the barbie with a much love with the front part. Right down a little bit over the last few days. And we've got the red light flashing, so the barge is just taking off at present. So they didn't get too many more cars. When I first what have we got there? We've got the wood duck as the main guest, which you can see in all the parks and that around here. They're manner sometimes, or a wood duck the main guest. Very yeah, when they're first opening up the island, we did stuff like doing that on the barge. It started across the river, but the barge wasn't sitting level. The truck driver said, look, hang on a bit, I'll move the truck over to level up the barge. As we moved the truck over a bit, the barge picked up and the truck slid down into the river. It sunk down, landed on the cables and pulled the barge back and forward. I had to get a big crane down from Bunbury. It took about 3 days until they finally got the truck over the water and could get on and off the island again. About 20 years after that, one of the homeowners bought a Saab motor car. It was 2 weeks old and we were up to brand new. He come down here, was in a bit of a hurry, drove on the barge, went in, put his key in, pressed the button. He was crossing the river and then he looked out at the control box and he flew Saab rolling across the deck. He forgot to put the handbrake on or leave the gear. And he had to close the gate too and bother about that. So he went down the ramp and sunk down and guess it was a Saab Marine. And about 20 years ago, one old fella drove on there while it was actually parked. And instead of putting his foot on the brake, he got to the end and put it back on the accelerator and took off the front of it, straight off the end and into the river. Someone there jumped in and got him out okay, so no one's been seriously hurt on the barge there. They managed to recover the cars. Someone dove down and got a rope on them and pulled them out with a tractor. Still the big steel cable while it's getting towed. There's a lot of tension on the cable, it's up close to the surface. But now it's at rest, that red light will stop flashing, the cable will sink down, it'll be safe for us to go through.
So Graham, anything they want to do, shops or school or anything like that, they've got to do this?
Yeah, the school bus comes down here in the morning and pick up the kids for the primary school, and not sure where the high school bus comes here, but probably would do. Yeah, the rubbish truck comes across on the barge, but there's the egret again on the pontoon there. Yeah, the Woolies and Coles truck comes over onto the island, so if you never wanted to leave the island, you probably wouldn't have to. The Woolies or Coles truck to come down and keep your food and stay there for a while. Yeah, it doesn't look like they'll bother going back. For the caretaker didn't take it, I don't think. One of the homeowners just took it to one car and stay over there. Like I said, if you rocked up now, or in the next few minutes, you would be able to just drive on and take the barge. You have to wait another 25 minutes or something. Unless 4 cars rocked up. It's still about peak holiday time, and it's running pretty much continuously all day long. Okay, I'll give a bit more of a commentary when we get down on the southern end of the Harvey Inlet and forest to think about down the area I'm going to point out. But, we've got an osprey coming up from the tree up here. Okay, right on the edge of the river, he's sitting on a little dead branch up here. So, have a look at it. Like I said, when they swoop down and grab a fish, their talons lock onto the fish. It's a great fish, but they can't release their talons readily. They have to go to a rock or somewhere or a tree branch and they can catch their talons and they'll open up again. So it's just coming up. And if they get a little bit greedy and their eyes are bigger than their belly, they can occasionally grab hold of a great big fish. They're not strong enough to pull it out of the water. The fish will actually dive pull them under, and before they can release the fish, they will actually drown. Doesn't really happen in the river here, where the fish are very a lot smaller. And yeah, like I said, if you're not sure whether it's an osprey or a sea eagle, oh, we've got one really, really close, slow down. We've got one up high and one down low. So I'll try and sneak along as best we can, because this is about as close as you'll ever get to an osprey. In there as well. Well, the low down is really close. I'm a little bit surprised they haven't taken off on us yet. They're generally fairly shy. Yeah, so they have that little stripe around their eyes, which is unlike a sea eagle. They're sort of browny in the wing, where a sea eagle's sort of an ashy coloured. And they always look a little bit scruffy, the ospreys, compared to a sea eagle. They look like they're in a sea, but interestingly enough, these guys don't mind having a bath, where ospreys will never have a bath. They'll be cleaner and neater looking. Ah, they've got the good old crow. Good old black crow. Everyone loves that. Especially in the morning when you've got a hangover and they get outside your window. By the sound of the black crow. Crows are up to there. Making plenty of noise. Very smart bird though, the crow. Extremely intelligent. Generally, most of the birds get along pretty good. You'll often see different species all close together. Another crow. Take off on it, but I said that's very good for an osprey. Look at that, very quite polite. I'm going to have a twitch. Yeah, he's had enough of this. Yeah, I said that's pretty good for an osprey. Generally, when you start looking at them, they'll generally be up a lot higher too. Way up high. Down. all black in colour, and the female has got that white chest on them. And you may notice their old nests there. I don't know whether they're just starting to rebuild them or not. Yeah, we've got some little black cormorants in there as well. The large white ones there are the darter birds. Yeah. So you see them, they're also known as a snake bird. Is that long skinny neck? It's the only thing that sticks out of the water when they're swimming along. And they can get a snake for a snake. That's the male there. He's the black one with his back to us. That's a female. And just above his head is an old nest, and also right from the bottom down here is another nest. There's another male at the back there as well. Very, very shy birds, darter birds, more so than the cormorant. The male's a beautiful looking bird, the colouring on him is magnificent, even more so than the female. Where they're on their nests, they'll swap over. The male will stay on there for a while, the female will go off and get food. Same thing, they'll swap over. When they get a fish, they actually spear it. Oh, he's going in the water there. You see the long skinny neck just sticking out. Anything there? Yeah, they actually spear their prey and then they swallow it down. It goes down, the small fish goes down head first, so all the scales and fins don't get stuck into its neck. But when they come back and feed their young, they actually spin the fish around in their stomach and it comes up the other way, so they can get all stuck coming up. They have only got a fairly skinny neck on them. Compared to the cormorant, which has got a big hook beak. I won't go back past it, I'll let them go because they'll be wiggy. Hopefully they'll nest there this winter again. We had 3 good young darter birds there last year, so hopefully they'll return. on that wind, like right down there. With the rain on it, that's what's going to be the rain. And the heads up is going to be safe. Down under the boat here. There's a lot of wind. Just go have a look at them, but it's been too long.
Right there, right on us, right here.
Down, we've got some more. Is that alongside, are they?
Yeah, they're right below us.
Right below us, okay. We'll hang under the boat. So we've got some more further down. There's no problems for long to the big dolphin, if you like. Open up the windows and move around and try and get a bit of a look at. Yeah, we've got another one over on the bank over here. Right alongside, it's alongside. Then I'll just tie it along it. So I won't go over and see it.
Right here.
cruising along, looking at the Dolphins. I've got to follow us a bit more. Yeah, I'll finish about the ridge there, the limestone on the Meese Rock, and about 100 k's between Augusta and Yallinga. On the eastern side of the ridge, if you get that red loam soil, you get the big carry trees growing. That happens behind the town of Augusta here. You can turn around L Street and just drive straight back up the hill and drive through the carry forest behind town here. You do want to follow the road along the top of the ridge for a couple of kilometres before you get to the Augusta Golf Club and look out like that is connected the only place in the world which is two oceans and two rivers, which is the Indian Ocean, the Southern Ocean, and the Blackwood River. We actually had quite a few Americans down here in the 1970s, so very nice people that were in the rural community, but they were very unusual in the region called the Balkans, and they actually started out in Russia. The word got around town, the reason they were all shipping here is they had read in scriptures where the ocean and the rivers will be safe. Right, we're really worried about how things are going. You know, people going to let off a couple of crackers or whatever's going to happen over there to the east. Come on down here to Augusta. It may well be the safest place on the planet. Give us a call, I might have a little bit of room to play. This area is all along the region. It's a lovely drive along the way from over to the carry forest around here. But most of the carry trees around here are very close to the 40 years old. Most of the trees are along in the late 80s. Back then they were cutting down acid. Basically a big concrete building shaped right and take it down and load the ship and the building so small. The guys would come along, put a massive airbag on them, block away about 1 tonne, blow up the airbag until the block was just starting to float, and then they would walk them and organise the reef pack. Once they'd organised the reef and get algae growing, they'd go back down and get to the bars, got 200 tiny little abalone, put that on the side of the block, touch up the doors, within 2 days we'll have abalone. Call out and find a home in the block. We still have good growth rates, good survival rates there, and certainly one of the world doing it like that. Most of the abalone gets exported from Hong Kong and China. But they've also abalone down there at Malaba. And the price of abalone has dropped 50% in the last couple of years, and they've not had pressure putting out any young abalone on the weekend there. Just harvesting the stock they've got there, they reckon they'll take another couple of years, and if they don't, if the abalone doesn't come up, they will not keep on putting out abalone that. They filled it with wine, they put a bit of yeast in there, and then they chained it back to the sea floor. And sitting there under pressure with the constant pressure from the bottom of the ocean, dropping back and forth with the swell, and bring it up and down. So it's a very unique wine there. I've got quite a number of things here. I've went past the picture. Put the load of carbon. Down that way there. Coming to the roof. Round. Oh, about 15 years. And like I said, the male is bigger than the female with the Australian pelican. And yeah, got the spoons there hanging around as well. Yeah, so yeah, they're doing these subsea wines, and then they bring up they're the cormorants, the pied cormorants again. So, and some younger pied cormorants, but they're all mainly the large pied cormorants there. And you did see a couple of little pied cormorants going up there. Yeah, and I was a lion islands around the water. Yeah, anyway, they're doing subsea wines down there. They're also doing wine tasting and abalone tasting. You've had abalone before, it's been prepared for you. You make it doing on a piece of rubber or something. I don't put it in and turn them upside down in a nice wine. The abalone once in the back, it tries to ride itself. I then stuck them out. I just like to let them abalone down there and wait to go to the water after Augusta has a permanent population of around 1,800 people. We actually went down to 1,600 on the last year. I think that was because of one wine and half the town couldn't fit in. Probably about 17 Still not a lot of people with a number of homes here. There's a lot of holiday homes here in Augusta, and they're not really permanently occupied. Obviously, tourism or hospitality is the mainstay of the town. There is a little bit of a fishing industry left in the harbour. That's closed down all our shark fishing. Shark fishing focus on the river as well. But yeah, there's still a couple of playboats working out there, and we have guys who work out there as well. And yeah, still on the abalone farm and the subsea wines there. And we do have tradies and builders and service people around town. Some people do work out of town on farms and vineyards. Other things in the area, and nowadays the buses and airport, we do have quite a few fly out workers, and there's also some people working remotely online, such as rural real estate agents. We're working out first, but we can have remote stuff online, they move to Augusta as well. Around the big stations and that, but it's not around the place of working in town now. If you're staying in Augusta though, our big day of the week is every second Thursday. That is on Christmas Day. There's a lot of retirees here in Augusta. That's been referred to as God's waiting room. What a great place to retire. Half price Thursday. The supermarket busy, I know that on Thursday, sorry. Yeah, it's quite busy. So yeah, great place to retire. Nice cool stuff time. Pretty windy at times. You've got the river in the ocean. So fishing is getting around town in the park and everything. I think it's pretty enjoying the Lunar Christian Church. Right next door to that is our museum. I do recommend that if you do have time. Augusta was the third colony settled in WA, way back in 1830. Three main families came here, the Bussels, the Burns and the Royals. They found it very hard going. Some of the Bussels cattle wandered off. They found them up around Busselton and realised under the tulip trees up there was good natural pasture and did a lot of farming. They decided to pack up and go, and so did the Dolphins settlers.
Turner stayed on. He was milling timber and growing vegetables, sold to the whalers. He lasted 30 years and then he cut it in and moved on to the lumber and holding. There was only 3 families in the district until the big timber boom started up and they built the right out the water wheels, big jetty. And they had quite a large town out in Old Corridor, which was Australia's growth. But what was left of Old Corridor buildings around it, 1961, was a huge bushfire taken on the ridge. Stuff has been grown fairly steady since then. It probably was about the same size as Sunbrook 40 years ago. So it hasn't had the population growth that's happened further north. But apart from a couple of the real estate agents, I haven't had anything else to upset about that. It's always been a little more quiet and a little more laid back. So this is the Fisherman's Wharf, built in 1984 for the fishing fleet. Back then it wasn't unusual to start those 3 meters of jetty. Once they built the harbour and the big boats stopped using it. This guy's been closed down. They canned the shark fishery. So we had 3 boats in town and no longer operating. We're talking about putting wheel off in Finland. And the jetty's been finished on the side. I haven't shown the story on the boat there. And a little bit of Coral Island here, got the colours in the pond, seen it went very long. Also a little that high white, still have a couple of railway lines there. And when Canada was here, like I said, he had a mill up on the northern end of the Hardy Inlet. He actually built a 52-foot long boat on the island there called the Dolphins. He launched it and then loaded it up with people from his mill, took it out through the river mouth and sailed to Mauritius. Sold the timber off over there in the West Australian mahogany. He didn't make a lot of money out of it and his mill burned down. But they ended up selling the boat and went to South Australia. Sold the whole of that. The mill loaded it, the mill blade on Mauritius. Looking up on the hill there, the big creamy building with the red roof is the Augusta Hotel. It does have a great view out of the lounge bar up there. Don't recommend the town at all, but there's some goodies now. Also, we're going to find deck chairs, Sunny Brother Rob and No Grill, so all the cafe coffee shop, there's a fish and chip shop, Chinese restaurant, Duckling Bus, and the bakery up there. So, plenty of place to eat. I have a cup of coffee and rest in my day. We do have a little bit of energy in the line. We will walk the right trail, so right along the edge of the river here, starts at Alice Street, does link up and follows the coast, all the way to the lighthouse. There's some lovely little sections of that walk the right trail, especially from distance through the Humboldt Home. Do the whole thing. Coming up on the right hand side is Turner Caravan Park, which is named after the Turner family. And you can still see the remnants of the old tunnel back to the park where they had his home. He actually brought a flatback home out from England way back in 1830. Must have had an Allen Keith, but they managed to put it all together. And when he left after 30 years, they unscrewed the home, they took it up to Perth. It was reassembled in Adelaide Terrace. It would have actually come to Perth from Adelaide Seaboard. Here, the backpack long before I was here, they recorded it. So, another couple of interesting things about the dog. Okay, we've got two Norfolk very close together. The one on the right has an osprey there. That could be an osprey that we might find the time for. And I've been testing down here for about the last 2 years. I'm a little bit surprised moved to town. Very quite bright. And the young have less than that. Not coming in feeding them. The first 6 months of osprey life pretty much concentrated. I've done master of fishing techniques. Okay, just to inform the river of Spain Bay, everyone calls it the colour patch down here. That's because that's top in front of it. The very first station, the colour patch is down on the shore. Virtually sold everything the other day. The first photo was just come out of the harbour. Just repeated this colour patch in the harbour on the water. Got a big refurbishment of that old rock there, the main feature. Does have a great outlook over the river, and yeah, nice place for coffee in the morning or cold beverage in the afternoon. Really lunch and dinner. I don't know whether they'll be open today. Closed on Monday. Yeah, check out the open time. Okay, we are virtually at the river mouth now. The early drawings from 1830 so the river flowing out very similar to what it was pretty much straight out in the Sydney Bay. By 1946, the mouth was reached the river. It's actually flowing out down to about Channel Southern. We had a flood out the river. First caravan park was thrown in the water. A couple of locals got a very big drag. While the couple of little scouts through the canoes, eventually dropped off down the far end of the front of us. They moved way down into the jungle again. So I came and we come back here yesterday and about a mile from the harbour river. Dropped off down there again, that's known as the dead water there. Probably off the dead water of the young lake, which is oyster catchers there, the black and white birds with a big red beak on them. And don't get jealous of them, we haven't got any oysters in the river. And the reason I called an oyster catcher is that beak is very strong, and when a wave washes over an oyster, it'll open up that scratch and jam the beak in there and give you the oyster open. Anyway, we're not going to go out over the bar today, that's where all the terms will congregate in there. Bunks there. Probably a good day to go over the bar. We've had plenty of water drinks at the moment. It was a little bit dangerous. We did have 3 boats rolled over the years. Head back there. Head back to the jet. No worries.